establish a contract of behavior when they decide to become involved? And have you examined yours? Dr. David B. Wexler, clinical psychologist and executive director of the Relationship Training Institute in San Diego, joins me with ways to secure your relationship. So, good morning. Let's talk a little bit about this. So when a couple, when they sort of decide to be a couple, they join this sort of contract. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, most contracts that people have in that situation are implied contracts. Most people don't sit down and write things up about exactly how things are going to go in their relationship. They sort of know, you know, you're not going to cheat on me, you're going to treat me well, we're going to be looking out for each other. But sometimes couples find that it's really it's going astray. And certain things that they really need to feel secure in the relationship are not solidly in place, and it really helps to sit down and say, here are the things that we're committed to making sure are going to take place or aren't going to take place in our relationship.
So this contract is you sort of sign on the dotted line when you say we are in a committed monogamous relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So this doesn't have to be written down, and it's not written down, or could you?
It is. It can be written down.
Okay.
And when I work with couples, I often have them, one of the first things we do is, let's go over this contract and make sure that all these things are in place. And sometimes they're coming to me because a lot of these things are not solidly in place. They have gotten messed up in some way, and we got to be crystal clear. Everybody's committed that these are the foundation pieces of this relationship.
Because that's not always so clear.
Because that's not always so clear.
Right. So you actually wrote the book When Good Men Behave Badly.
Right.
And so speaking of when men are behaving badly, what are some of the ways that you can sort of break that relationship contract?
Okay, and we should be clear that there is such a thing also as when good women
behave badly.
I just haven't gotten around to writing that book yet.
Okay.
But the relationship contract is really for both parties, not just good men behaving badly.
Right.
But some of the key things on there is some of the basics that everybody would realize. There's not going to be any physical abuse or any kind of threats or implied physical abuse in the relationship.
Okay. Yeah, let's go over some of these, I guess. Let's talk about the first 5 sort of on the relationship contract. You say no incidents of direct physical abuse or violence.
Right, that's a no-brainer for people.
Right.
Nobody wants to be in a relationship where that is happening. We also don't want to have any time when somebody feels threat, like if I stand over you in some way where it looks like I might become abusive. That is forbidden in the kind of relationship that we're trying to create here.
Absolutely. And then no physical restrictions on either party's freedom of movement.
Yeah, that means that you and I get into some sort of argument, and you say, that's it, I can't even talk to you anymore, and you start to leave, and I say, wait a minute, you can't go. We got to finish this conversation. And I grab you, or you get in the doorway and try to block me. Those things that is domestic violence waiting to happen.
Okay, so this is like literally blocking someone. Would this also include maybe something like someone saying you can't go somewhere, you can't go do this?
Well, that would be what's called social isolation.
Okay.
That would be like if I was saying, I order you can't go be with these people, or you can't leave. That's a problem all in and of itself. We're talking about physically stopping somebody.
Okay, and then you can't do property destruction and no
Right.
threats to leave the relationship, because this happens a lot sometimes.
Right. Now that's a
leave.
tricky one, because obviously relationships go bad, and sometimes people might need to say, you know, if you cheat on me, if you do this, I can't stay in the relationship. That's just setting the boundaries. But if in the middle of an argument I say to you, that's it, I can't deal with you, I'm done, I'm getting a lawyer, and an hour later I don't really mean that.
Right.
I've just done some damage. I've
Absolutely.
created an abandonment issue that is damaging to the relationship.
Okay, let's go over these 4 second ones that we have. So no patterns of extreme verbal put-downs or other humiliating acts.
Right.
Of course, don't insult your partner.
And people know the difference usually. It's one thing to say, I'm really angry with you, why did you do that? I don't call those put-downs. That's just people being upset.
Absolutely.
But there's ways of assassinating character or making somebody feel humiliated that's not okay.
Right, and then don't lie and don't use alcohol or drugs. Or don't abuse alcohol.
Don't abuse alcohol and drugs. We're not going to make a rule nobody can ever drink, or frankly, you know, people do sometimes
Right.
use drugs. But we're talking about ways that are destructive to the relationship. That is a problem. And last but not least, of course, is be faithful. And again, if a couple happens to have a contract, which some people have, that they can stray, that's fine. They can build that into their contract. Doesn't work for most people, but it can work for some.
But everyone just has to be on the same page.
Everybody has to be on the same page, and not only that, you can't act in ways that make me suspicious, that are causing me to feel insecure. That's what this is really about.
Right.
You and I both have to feel solid and secure. Then the relationship has a good chance of working.
And you actually have a couple seminar in January at the San Diego Institute, correct?
Right.
Relationship Institute.
In late January, we have a Friday night and all-day Saturday called Building Better Relationships for all couples dealing with personal growth or trying to fix some of these problems. It's a terrific place to work on these kinds of issues.
Great. I mean, it's your relationship. It's one of the most important things in your life. Definitely want to work on it. So if you want to find out more information, you can go to fox5sandiego.com and learn more about the Relationship Training Institute. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Back to you, Raul.
Okay, good information, guys. Thank you.